Hello everyone and welcome back to another Stormworks video. As you're probably guessing by the title and the thumbnail, today I'm going to be talking about how to make multi-part ships. Now, first things first is we're going to be covering all the different components we actually need. In this tutorial itself, we'll actually go ahead and build 3 sections of a ship. So we'll build the bow, the middle hull, and also the stern of the ship itself. I'm also going to be telling you how to actually connect all those components up. Along with that, we'll also go ahead and actually send a signal, for example, a rudder signal from the bridge, which will be in the front of the ship, all the way to the rear where the rudders would be in theory. Along with that, I'll also show you how to set up the mission itself to go ahead and spawn the boat or ship itself. Now, first things first is we actually need to build our hull section. I'm going to start off by using 3 identical pieces and then just changing the components throughout them. Obviously, you won't be using the exact same thing as me, but this is just the purpose of the tutorial, just to show you what components you need and how to actually get it all wired up and hooked up. So first things first is we need to create the bow, or actually the hull of the ship itself. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and just build a very simple box. Nothing special or good looking at all. Just a simple shape that we can go ahead and actually just start working on. So once we have that built up, now you'll see that I've just gone ahead and closed it off. Now, imagine we have 3 identical pieces like this, one for the bow, one for the middle, and one for the stern. This exactly, we're going to wonder, well, how do we connect them up? Now we connect them up using magnets. So we're going to use the large connectors themselves. So we want to actually make them flush into these pieces of the hull. So by doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and delete a couple of blocks. Now you don't have to place it where I'm placing, you place wherever you want, but now you can see that's completely flush. So when you add another section on here, it's going to join without any issues. Now the actual connectors themselves have quite a few different inputs and outputs. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly talk about that. Each one of these connectors, same as the small connector, you need to actually turn them on and give them power. Now, because we're in advanced mode, you need electricity. So to get that out of the way, I'm just going to go ahead and just add a simple battery in here. We'll get back to the actual power / electricity later on. And obviously, as I said, we need to turn them on. So we're going to go and just place down a simple on signal. Now, to turn them on, we just go ahead and connect that on signal over to the magnet toggles. That means that these actual magnets are turned on by default. So as soon as we spawn in our creation, it's going to actually draw each one of the parts together and join it up to form one whole. So if you go ahead and put those on either side, so as we said, this is the middle piece. So I'm just going to go and make sure it's on the same level. Go ahead and delete that. Add another piece just over here. Make sure it's flush, great. And then just make sure we connect the logic up. I'll go ahead and connect all the electric quickly now while I'm here. So you just want to make sure, oops, spawn something by accident. So we'll go ahead and quickly just connect up the electric here. So simple, it's on the electric. As I said, we'll get back to how we're actually going to recharge that battery just now. So we got that. So say we could actually, in theory, go ahead now and spawn several of these and they would automatically join up together because obviously the magnets are on and they draw each other to themselves, and because we're in advanced mode they have electricity, so it's all good and working. Now you probably think, well, okay, that's great. Well, how do we send signals and numbers and on-off switches and power through our different blocks themselves? Well, that's pretty simple. As I said earlier, the connectors themselves have several different inputs and outputs. Each one of these connectors can send a number, send a signal. They can also receive a number and receive a signal. So you could, for example, say your front section, you have your bridge with your controls, you want to send your rudder signals through that. You're going to go into there, go through here, send it through there, and then go through there. I won't talk about that right now because we'll actually go ahead and build that now and show you how to send a signal. The next thing we're going to be doing is obviously saying, well, great, no problem. We're in advanced mode. How do we send power between our different objects? So say, for example, our engine room is in a different section to our propellers. Well, once again, pretty simple. You can see these connectors actually have power outputs or inputs. So once again, you just go ahead on each one of your components. So say this was the engine room and you wanted to send power to your next component, which has your propellers. You would just connect your engines up directly to these ports here. And then on your second creation, you would go ahead, create it or load it up do exactly the same thing. Take the power out of the magnet and then connect it to your propellers or gearbox or whatever else you're connecting it to. That's how you would transfer power. You're probably thinking, well, we're in advanced mode, we still need to obviously transfer power, and also along with that is we need to transfer, say, for example, fuel or maybe water between our different components. That's where we come into effect and we actually use our connectors. So I have obviously is the electrical connector and also the fluid connector. So we would go ahead and place those down. Now, obviously, if we just went to go ahead and place them down just over here, you would obviously see they are now not flush with the creation. So it would obviously create an issue, and if you had damage turned on, it would obviously damage those areas. So we obviously will go ahead and now just make this flush into the actual build itself. So you can see I'm just going to build up a couple pieces here. Go ahead and take, for example, our fluid connector. Now, by default, remember guys that these are turned on by default. You don't need to actually control them by a switch. However, you do need to control them with electric, so they will need electric to actually connect. So by default, as I said, you will need to actually put a battery in each one of these blocks, and that's just to get the existing connection to connect to each other. From then on forth, you could obviously go ahead and connect the electricity up to the battery, and then if you were recharging it in one area, it would go ahead and recharge all the batteries throughout all the multiple different components. So say you had that, perfect, and then you could probably say, well, hold on, we need to get the fuel out, or the fluid out, so that's the electric. This is the fluid. You would then go ahead and just connect the pipes up as you would if what you're connecting to it was right here, and that's pretty much, it's as simple as that. So what I'm going to go ahead now is that now we've got our middle section. This is going to be the base for our hull, for our actual hull itself. So we can say, well, we got our dimensions already. This is how we want it. We can then go ahead and actually spawn this in again. So we can go ahead, for example, I'm going to go ahead and save this and say this is our hull middle. Perfect. We can then say, okay, well, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and now make the same section because we've got the same measurements. We can go ahead and say, well, keep the connections at the back. We can go ahead and delete the front. We'll then go ahead and build our actual bow up, for example, just say, so just say this was our bow. I'm not going to make it look pretty. I'm just going to show you, for example, here for how you would do it. So say this was our bow section. Obviously, it would look a little prettier. Just make sure it's all sealed up. So this is the front. And now we're going to say, well, we're going to create a bridge. Now we want the bridge for the purpose of the tutorial just to be over there. And we obviously want to send our signals, whether it be to the engines, to the propellers, to whatever it is. For the purpose of the tutorial, I'm going to connect it up to a rudder. So this is the front of our creation. And we're going to take our A and D, which is left and right. We're going to take it to our send number. So this is going to send that signal off to the next connector that's connected to it. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly just save this piece. So, okay, this is going to be our whole bow. Perfect. You can then go ahead and now load up your middle. As I said, you're going to take the signal from here. So you can see numbers received, and we're going to send it to the next back section. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly just save this as our middle section again. And we're then going to go ahead and use the same piece because we have it already built. So we might as well go ahead and use it. So we go ahead, delete that. Say this is our rear section where our rudders are going to be. So let's go ahead and just say, for example, we would have our rudders there. Great, no problem at all. We'll then go and say, well, okay, our signal is coming into this connector because the other connector is connected to it. We will receive that number, and then we're going to go and connect it to that. So you can see we've now linked that number, which is outputted from our chair or our pilot seat, all the way through the different connectors, so that when they're connected, they're receiving and sending numbers. So the last thing we need to do is obviously just connect our electricity. Once we have that done, we can now go ahead and save this, and this is going to be our whole stern. Perfect. We can actually go ahead and close this up and now load our mission editor. Now the mission editor itself, I have done a tutorial covering how to use a mission editor. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to go show you what you need to actually just spawn a vehicle in and get it to connect. So first things first, you need to rename the playlist. So I'm going to say multi-playlist. You need to add obviously a location. I'm at the creative base, so I'm going to get my ship spawned from the creative base. So we go ahead, edit the objects. This is where we go ahead now and place our objects down. Now by default, when you're building in this creative area, it faces the outward way going out towards the ocean. Well, when you go ahead and place the blocks down, you'll see now, I'm going to go ahead and grab our stern. You can see it's actually not the right way. It's now flipped itself. Now, you can obviously resolve that by going ahead and just rotating it around to where you want. But for the purpose of the tutorial, I'm not going to get into that. I think you guys know how to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and now start adding our other pieces. So we got that. We're going to grab our middle piece. I'm just going to build it quite far away for now. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our bow. Perfect. Now with this themselves, you'll see obviously we have all our connectors, everything. This is going to get drawn to each other when you spawn it in. Now first things first is you want to get it as close as possible and lined up as best as possible before you go ahead and spawn this in. This is obviously going to help to not create any issues or any parts where it's not going to connect to each other because it's too far away, or there might be something else and obviously in your build that's blocking it and so on and so forth. So you want to try and get it as flush as possible and as closely connected as possible. So once we have that, we're happy where we've actually placed our blocks themselves. The next part of obviously this mission thing is going to go ahead and actually create a mission to spawn it in. Now we'll go ahead and add a mission. We'll go ahead and edit the mission itself. As I said, I'll go ahead and rename this. You need to rename all these parts. It won't work if you don't. The next part is obviously to go ahead and include the parts of your ship that you want included in the mission itself. Otherwise, it won't spawn anything. And then the last part, what you have to worry about is, as I said, you don't have to worry about anything else here, is you need to create an objective. Missions won't work without a single objective. Now, as I said, you can just leave it empty. You don't need to edit any of this. Leave it as it is. The only thing you do need to edit is obviously the title and the description. Otherwise, it won't spawn in. So I'm just going to go write multi. And same here, multi. Perfect. And that's pretty much about it. Once you have all that set, you can go ahead, jump back to the overview, go ahead and click test spawn. Are you sure you want to test this mission? Yes, I do. I want to spawn it in. And you'll see now it all spawns in and it connects. And that's because of the magnets. Now we'll go ahead and we'll just try and jump onto this vehicle itself. I'm going to jump into the pilot seat. And if we've done everything right, if I go ahead and actually press either A and D, you should see now that our signal is going from the first block or different creation to the second block, and then finally to the third block where our rudders are. So I'm going to go ahead and A, and as you can see, it's now controlling our different rudders, which is perfect. That's pretty much about it, guys. As I said, this is nothing special, nothing fancy. I'm not building any engines or anything here. This is just the fundamentals of how to go ahead and build your multi-part ship. So with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. As always, guys, I hope you found it somewhat enjoyable and useful and informative. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It does always help my channel out. Also, come and check out the streams. We're going to be doing streams every weekend. I will do a couple pop-up streams during the week. However, the regular stream schedule at the moment is going to be on the weekends when we're doing the survival series, either on Saturdays and Sundays, and then there should always be a second stream either on Saturday or on Sunday. So with that all said, we'll see you in the next video.